There's a road that leads to nowhere and everywhere at once, where the earth stares at the stars and can't hide its lust, where they roll out the red carpet for you, red sky and red dust, on this road that leads to nowhere and everywhere at once. These are my Northern Territory stories that I wrote recently. I didn't take my camera with me, so here's snapshot one. A thick red blanket of ghosts gallops behind us. Our only reprieve from the pursuit comes in the form of the Stuart Highway. We brace for impact, tires rolling onto the black of the snake's back as we leave its red belly behind to engulf us another day. Snapshot 2. Back home, when riverbeds are dry, they seem to pathetically scream, "Help me, I'm really dry!" And out here, when riverbeds are dry, they're cool. They're like, "Yeah, I'm dry. I'm fucking dry ass, man." This one's about coffee. You got to turn your back if you want to ignore it properly. What is this disgraceful sound that's got me? It's enough to put me off my morning coffee. Yeah, it's enough to put me off my morning coffee. Oh, it's just an old Aboriginal lady lamenting the day's curses. She's stuck to the ground outside of the art gallery, frozen in a state of mourning. It's enough to put me off my coffee. You got to turn your back if you want to ignore it properly. What is this disgraceful sight that's got me? It's enough to put me off my morning coffee. Yeah, it's enough to put me off my morning coffee. It's an art gallery claiming it's supportive of Indigenous artists, and its mask wears itself proudly. It's the markup and the price tag and the massive suit and tie and fair, and it's all dressed up in blackface to sing and dance and make us all filthy rich. I feel sick. It's enough to put me off my coffee. You've got to turn your back if you want to ignore it properly. What is this disgraceful scent that's got me? It's enough to put me off my morning coffee. Yeah, it's enough to put me off my morning coffee. There's smoke billowing from the doorway of the art gallery, and she bathes in flames like a bird in a pond, and her song is all wrong, but it's from the beyond, and isn't that where she belongs? I swear, officer, she just burst into flames and walked into the gallery, arms wide open. Someone put her out, please. The stench of burning flesh is enough to put me off my coffee. You got to turn your back if you want to ignore it properly. What is this disgraceful feeling that's got me? It's enough to put me off my morning coffee. Yeah, it's enough to put me off my morning coffee. I touch the table when I'm able, feel thick cables like vines, and now the table's made of snakes. I watch them curl and combine and writhe and dive with the music of this fire that's alive inside, invite insight inside this life. No, that would turn me off my morning coffee. No, you got to turn your back if you want to ignore it properly. What is this disgraceful taste that's got me? It's enough to put me off my morning coffee. It's enough to put me off my morning coffee. I stare into my cup, and I confess I'm plumb dumbstruck. It's like I'm staring into the sun, untucked, as the cup fills up with red dust, and then puff, it whirls. A vortex of power down a lonely street, shifting and drifting, lifting debris, ashes, paintings, coffee cups, and at the center is a vortex of her wailing at ground zero, and everybody's frozen solid like they're carved from ice, glistening in a darkening sky, and with a sharp bite, everything's returned to normal. The sun shines through, and what was once chaos and crazy is noiseless and normal again. Except for a small dust-coloured snake that lifts its fangs from my ankle and whispers, "You got to turn your back if you want to ignore it properly, but I'd hate to put you off your morning coffee. Yeah, I'd really hate to put you off your morning coffee." Snapshot 3. A lone kite swoops, shrieking galahs. They ruffle their feathers, teasing and testing, resting on the wire, while the kite looks on, contemplative. The next day there's something on the road. Red dust contrasts sharply with the feathers, shades of pink scattered within. The feathers remain as perfect preservations, yet the galah's body is practically gone. I guess that's the last time you tease a kite. Snapshot 4. A wedge-tailed eagle sits its massive bulk atop roadside carcass. 2 crows tentatively make their way towards the feast, and all it takes is a cock of the eagle's head to tell them where to go. I can only imagine this massive bird of prey saying to its lesser brethren, I'm a fucking eagle. I'm like a really, really big eagle. When I first saw her wings, it was one of those things that would make God sing but leave the world breathless. And I knew that her feathers held my heart together, but there was something in the weather and the air underneath us. They said we had to fly from the blink to the eye, and the sky seemed shy, so she told her what her name was, and with the closing of her talons, she fled towards the caverns where the stable mind maddens and soon became lost. And that's where I saw my name in the raindrops. Yeah, that's where I saw my name in the raindrops. That's where she wrote my name in the raindrops. Her feathers were soaked when the storm broke, wet from the yoke of a day older. And the sky had fallen on us just like she'd promised, as the mountain caught comets on his gnarled shoulders. We feasted on heartache as the sky laughed late, but she would only partake in grief and loss. But by the time her wings dried, something inside had flung wide as she cried to the painters of her pathos. And that's where she saw her name in the raindrops. And that's where she saw her name in the raindrops. And that's where I wrote her name in the raindrops. We tumbled from the cave where our hearts had been saved and lifted our flames to the new horizon. But something had changed as the sky blazed, and I watched her feathers fade and her heart lighten. Something in the storm had given her form from which she was reborn and could never take off, her sky or my earth, a choice or a curse. And as we plummeted to rebirth, she asked me what her name was, and that's where we wrote each other's name in the raindrops. That's where we wrote each other's name in the raindrops. Yeah, that's where we wrote each other's name in the raindrops. And there's a road that leads to everywhere and nowhere at once, where the earth stares at the stars and can't hide its lust, where they roll out the red carpet for you, red sky and red dust, on this road that leads to nowhere and everywhere at once.